And I just briefly want to bring up some of the common mistakes that we kind of see over and over. On Friday, I went to a local NRCS meeting in which there was 3 different presentations where people were operating hoop houses. We had one guy that had our hoop house. He had the roll-up sides, he had the fans and everything. And then the next guy did not have one of our hoop houses, and he just didn't choose the options, right? No big deal. That was his choice. But on his things that said, troubles with hoop houses, was I had insect problems and I had ventilation problems. But he didn't have insect netting and he didn't have vents. So it's like you have to have ventilation even in the winter. And it was kind of a good reminder for me to hear that from another grower. Overwatering, look, I don't care if you're growing a fern inside or roses or outside or inside. We all overwater, especially in the beginning. So just really, we have some soil probes now that if you're just starting out, I do recommend that as you're learning your soil composition and as you're learning what different spots of your hoop house is holding water or not holding water, is that you may adjust the water over time. Just a reminder to probably not water so much. Ignoring pest control. You're going to get pests inside of the hoop house. It does offer a physical barrier. Occasionally you're going to get it. And my advice is to be prepared for that before it happens. And that means sprayers, potentially an atomizer depending on the crop and your environmental controls, making sure that you have your organic controls on hand, make sure that you have a monitoring practice. So like as you're going through you're not just in there working, you're actively going in there and making sure that you're walking the aisles and you're looking on the undersides of the plants and you're checking all of the corners and all the up and downs of your hoop house to make sure I see whiteflies. Where are they? What are we going to do about it? You go to your storage container with your proper controls and you implement that in a correct manner and you're knocking down those insects very fast before they become a problem. Temperature mismanagement. We all get busy. We all get forgetful. You're going to forget to turn your water off for sure, probably once a season. You're going to forget to roll up the sides or roll down the sides. You're going to miss things in your grow. Farmers are super busy people. You're wearing every hat under the farm. Your dad, your mom, you got all your husband, your wife, you have all these different situations in which your time is getting pulled all the time. You're going to forget stuff. But temperature mismanagement, maybe your plants get a little too hot. Maybe you overwatered. Maybe you didn't water enough that particular day. That's where having this regimen and this daily practice of having a hoop house that you'll learn over time. If you make these mistakes in the beginning, don't beat yourself up. Every single successful farmer that's out there has made those mistakes 100 times. You're going to be all right. Ignoring soil health. I really encourage everybody to do a soil test before you place your hoop house. The pad that you just saw me build on a few slides ago, my property was actually an old, where they used to take cars, and it was a salvage yard. And so sure enough, if we didn't build that up, anywhere that you put a spade on my property, you were getting a brake light or a rubber hose or a piece of license plate or something like that. Not everybody has that problem, but it's a good reminder to go, this part of the property used to be where cows were run. This part used to be a prairie. This is going to have high nitrogen. This may need a little bit more nitrogen. So you're not going to know until you do a proper soil test. Send that off for analysis, knowing your soil composition. If you have 2 pieces of property, one's real sandy, one has a lot of clay, you may find that sweet spot in the middle in which you're not dealing with super fast draining soil and you're not dealing with clay soil that's going to hold that water. So we've put out a lot of videos as of late on stuff like that. You can't ignore where that hoop house is going to go or the nutrients that are available in there currently. Super easy to get excited and plant the whole hoop house all at once. And then you got 500 heads of lettuce coming all up at once. Plant a little bit this week, plant a little bit more next week. You'll hear pro farmers, they're talking about succession plantings in which, hey, we need to take 30 heads of lettuce to the market. So we're going to plant 35, 40. And next week we're going to plant 35, 40. And that way you're not having to weed every single thing all the time. You're not having to pull, bushels and bushels of tomatoes out all the time. You're giving yourself a little bit of buffer, and you're making sure that your plants are producing all throughout the season. Forgetting to rotate crops, a lot of what we talked about is that proper crop selection. So you may be growing tomatoes in the summer, you may be feeding it a lot of calcium. Maybe you're companion planting or planting the next crop is something that also likes calcium because you're building it up in the soil. Or maybe you're not going to be growing 4 seasons because you don't have a market and you don't have a place for that produce to go. And maybe you're going to choose to cover crop or silage tarp to change the soil nutrients that are available with a cover crop or deaden it out altogether. I heard for the first time on Friday that this one cat, he floods his high tunnel in order to kind of wash out the nutrients. There's a lot of information out there, and you have to decide what's right for you. Being unprepared for seasonal changes. Right now, it's starting to get hot. This is the first week that, again, I'm sitting next to customer service, shade cloth, shade cloth, shade cloth. Everybody's panicking about shade cloth right now. You know who's not panicking about shade cloth is the farmers that already had that, already anticipated needing the shade cloth. They don't have to worry about FedEx taking an extra day or two. They don't have to worry about, hey, 100 people order shade cloth today. Cup times are getting extended. There's a calendar on everybody's phone. You know that the hot's coming. You know that the cold's coming. Think about that a little bit to make sure that you're not getting behind in your ordering, making sure that you're getting seeds on time, making sure that you have your irrigation in place on time, making sure you're cleaning filters out on time to make sure that you don't have clogs. So there's all these things that are coming your way as a farmer that you just don't want to do at the last minute. Super easy to procrastinate. Very guilty of that myself, so I get it. You pay the price, right?